Okay, here we go.
How too far back if I lean back?
I mean, it is what it is. If
What
you
if I
say,
do this?
there
There
you
we
go, that'll
go.
be better.
Oh,
So I
yeah,
was gonna
no
say, because
problem.
if for some reason you say something super awesome and it turns it into a reel, you're gonna be really small.
I don't want to look small. Come on, man.
Okay. Okay. So
It's like
these are
my
our
biggest fear.
welcome to the 98% podcast, where we hear real stories from real people. And I'm here with another special episode of the Hot Seat, episode 3 with Tim. So we're bringing Tim back. And fun fact, this has actually been a year since we did our first interview. I don't know how that's happened so fast. It seems like it was just yesterday.
Yeah, it went fast, man. Like when I got that text, I could not believe it had already been a year that we were sitting right here.
I know, it's crazy. The only reason I knew that was because I knew it'd been close to a year, but yeah, I got the little Facebook memory and was like, "Are you kidding me? That story I posted with us, the little reel or whatever." It's
Yep.
like, dang, that was that long ago. It's wild.
Yeah, I can't believe it.
Crazy. Okay, so yeah, so this is the hot seat episode. So for the audience, what we're gonna do is we both created 4 questions for each other. We're basically putting each other on the spot with these 4 questions, and you'll get to learn more about us. So, okay, are you ready, Tim?
I'm ready, buddy.
Okay, you want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first.
Okay, here we go. So I like doing themes. So with each guest I've done this on, I kind of think about like you as a person and what I know, and I try to create questions based off those themes. So the first one is around taxidermy.
All right.
So here we go. So what does working with preserved animals teach you about life? And do you see it as honoring nature, controlling it, or something else entirely?
So that's a good question. I think I could break that down into about 20 questions. But I would say, yeah, it teaches. Well, for me, I haven't really even been hunting in the last 3 years. Even though I do taxidermy for a profession, what people don't know is I love animals probably more than most. I have a zoo of animals here, and I photograph them and I study them, and um, I really appreciate them. And so I look at my job as recreating life instead of the death aspect of it. I try to look at it as trying to, I'll never be able to make it perfect to what it was, but do it justice. If it's no longer living, it might as well be presented, in a beautiful pose. And that's another thing that really just brought me to birds is they were always so much prettier than, like deer. Yeah, you can shoot a big deer and it's beautiful, but really after you do so many, um, a deer's a deer's a deer,
Mhm.
somebody would drop it off and they, it was a trophy to them, sure. But to me, it was a paycheck. So I didn't even care about the antlers. It was a business. Okay, back to your question. Sorry. Can you repeat that question again? Just the
Yeah.
beginning of it there.
Yeah. So what does working with preserved animals teach you about life?
I don't know. I don't know. What I can say is it's given me a reason for life. Um, One of the things that I live for is helping people in my industry. I love it very much. I got good at it. And then as I got better and continue to get better, I pass on what I teach myself and what others teach me or what I've learned over the years doing it and give that information to people that want to be better, so that it's like my purpose, I guess, in life is helping people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No. And you got to have a purpose in life, right?
for sure.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Okay. See, I think that was a good answer. That was a sufficient answer for sure.
Yeah, it's a hard question to answer
Yeah.
because of what it is. You know
Uh-huh.
what I mean? but I guess that's why they call it the hot seat. I don't have time to think of a good answer.
That's okay. You answered most of it anyway, so
Yeah.
that was a good answer. The first one about the nature thing that made a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
So
Well, and I do that with my base work too. A lot of the
Mhm.
stuff that you see even in museums, it looks like somebody just put it there. And I like to take pictures of just random stuff when I'm walking through the woods or walking around a lake. And I'll try and recreate something like that.
Mhm.
I want it to look like you took a big bulldozer and scooped up the earth and then planted it to where, it's on a base and then put a bird on it. That's what I like. I like it to look real. Or I go completely opposite and I do something abstract that's a cool design that's artistic. So, anyway,
I like that.
yeah.
Okay, what's your first question for me?
Okay. So I actually have five, but I'm going to pick the best four
Okay, there we go.
as we go. Um, I just wanted to make sure I was prepared. Okay, first question. What is your dream life or lifestyle?
Okay, dream life or lifestyle? Um, well, dream life. Okay. And so I'd say I feel like I'm kind of living it. I know that's a cop out answer, I guess, but I'll build up on that. So I'd say I've always enjoyed creativity. I've always been a creative person. And I've always enjoyed training people or helping people similar to you. So being able to do that, like in my current job where I'm teaching and training people on stuff that I think really matters. So like leadership development, how to build team camaraderie, how to do things like that, I think is really important. But then also like the podcast kind of like scratches a different itch. It's like I'm being able to connect with people in a real way, an authentic way, and hopefully people will see that and realize how important it is to connect with people on the day-to-day basis. Um, and then I got music going on right now that I'm starting back into, which is something I put on the back burner for a while, which I really have been enjoying. And I think that also scratches a different itch. Um, and then let's see, what else I got? I say that's it for the most part. So I'd say dream lifestyle, I'd say would be able to come and go as I please, doing a lot of the same stuff. So I'd say being able to do the podcast like I do, but being able to just kind of like do it when I want, where I want, and have enough funds to be able just to kind of, you know, maybe so like the current job I do, I like this job, but thinking about like from an entrepreneurial standpoint, like if I was able to make enough by going to businesses and teaching and training and have all the extras so I could focus on podcast or music and have a little more time to that, I'd say that would probably be um I think that would be better. But overall, like I'd say I feel like I'm on the verge of that. I'm on the edge of that, and I'm really happy about that. So I feel like most days are pretty great. I'd say the only thing that I'm missing is I would like a partner to go along with all that.
I
So I
knew
think
that
that's
was
the only.
coming.
Yeah, I'd say that's the only thing right now because I've got this checklist and I've got three of the four things on my checklist. So that's the other thing I'd say. So if it was going to be more of a dream, it would be somehow getting that person to be part of the journey as well. So that's my answer.
That's a good answer. I think to finish that, though,
Hmm.
with all the things that you do have going, it's going to have to be the right person that wants to be a part of your journey because you're already
Uh-huh.
happy, which is great and
Uh-huh.
what you need. But I'm not saying that she can't have her own life. I'm not saying that whatsoever. But
Yeah.
to have all of that going on from a similar standpoint, I understand that you have to be happy with what's going on now in your life before adding to it. And that when you add to it, you have to make sure it is the person that or that's going to fit into what has already made you happy.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
I certainly respect you with how you've approached that in our personal conversations, and we don't have to get into that, but I really look up to you in that aspect of things, man. So for what that's worth, tip my hat to
Oh,
you there.
thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
But no, you have a good point. I mean, it should be complementary, right? Like we should complement each other's lifestyles, whoever that would
for
be.
sure.
Doesn't mean we have to do the same thing. You know, maybe we do, maybe we don't, and it's fine as long as there's a complementary aspect, as long as you're not sacrificing yourself to for that relationship, I guess.
Connection, it's what we've all really lost, I feel.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go out to dinner and look around and see all the families, and no one is talking anymore. Everybody's on their own device, and um, yeah, I don't know, man. I hope that you find someone, and I hope that you guys are both great for each other.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm sure I will. And I hope you do too.
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay, my next question. Here we go. This one is around the theme of powerlifting.
Oh boy.
So let's see. In a sport so focused on control, measurement, and pushing the limits, when do you find moments of presence or personal meaning beyond numbers?
Hmm. Repeat the last part.
Okay. So
When do you?
when do you find moments of presence or personal meaning beyond numbers?
Hmm. Um. Well, for instance, I just competed, what, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Hmm.
Anyway, not very long ago, and my whole family showed up. One person that I've spent my whole entire life trying to please was there. His name is my dad. And and so I had really high hopes for myself. My coach, Max Schaefer, did a really good job with me. I feel like we peaked perfectly. And I had my goals set. I knew what I wanted to get. I
Hmm.
knew what I was capable of. I knew what I had done in the gym, and I had 1,700 pounds total as my goal. That was my goal. I wanted to have a 630 squat, um, 380 bench, and a 680 deadlift. And that would have been 1,700. Anything over that would have been great. Anything under that, you know, not the day that we wanted, but also if I came out walking out of the gym, it was still a decent day.
Hmm.
So your question, I had my first squat was 585 pounds, and it's a weight that I've done, a double on. It's, you know, I've done a lot of singles at that weight, so I was very comfortable. Um, got up there and I just got out of position and I messed up my first squat and scratched 3 red lights. I got the weight up, but it didn't count because I had a dip and it was just, I was off balance. I got way too like out over my toes. So the weight, dipped and then whatever didn't count. So didn't start out the greatest. My coach couldn't make it. A good buddy of ours stepped in. His name's Jackson, and he was awesome to have. He walked me through everything. And he comes over and he's like, "Do you want to go up?" And I was like, "Yeah, like I know what happened. I still want to proceed. Otherwise, we're going to have a 50-pound jump to hit 630." It just was a long ways off. So
Hmm.
we went up to 618 and I dunked it. It was good. 3 white lights, everything was good. Um, the whole crowd was cheering, and there was literally two. They weren't all cheering for me. I'm not saying that, but it gets loud in those meets. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And they might not even know you. They just, want you to get the weight up. And cheering as a fan. But the whole gym was cheering, and I heard two voices, and that was my daughter and my dad, and I know I had my whole family there. I know that they were all cheering and saying whatever, but those are the two that I wanted, like it was in my head. That's what I wanted to hear. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I would say in moments like that, I would say that's when, you're talking about the presence, right? And it
Mhm.
means more than what I ended up getting. I ended up um, missing my third bench and my third deadlift. So I went 6 for 9 on the day, and my total was 1664, which is still decent, but obviously not 1700, which is what I planned for, So I was upset, but only upset with me. Not that anything went wrong or whatever. It was just that was how our day ended. And it's unfortunate that I did more weight than that in the gym, but also it's not the same. You know what I mean? In the gym, I made a mistake at 575 and I just did it again. So I still had that confidence. You know what I mean? I don't get a
Mhm.
redo in a competition.
Yep.
And so um, when you put your mind on something, I will tell you, and I heard this from a coach, and he awesome guy, world record holder. Um, he said to be successful at powerlifting, you have to be you have to be delusional with um, your goals. You have to be delusional with your goals. And I loved that because I am delusional in a lot of my goals. But every time that I keep trying, I still get closer and closer and closer. So, it's not always about the numbers. And yeah, powerlifting really is about numbers. It's a numbers game. Um, but sometimes, I mean, it has a lot more meaning than, what you put on a score sheet. So having my dad at that meet, even though, I won for my division and everything, I set some state records, um, the national record by 25 pounds, which I felt good
Mhm.
about. However, none of that means anything to anybody but me. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So is it cool? Yeah, I could say I did it, but does it mean anything? Not really. I get more out of what my kids think of that than what I think of it. You know, uh, I really compete a lot in a lot of different areas, as you know, uh, but I do all of it to inspire my kids. I want them to have that drive, and be ambitious and try new things. Um, I hate losing more than anything. So, you know, that part sucks. But yeah, I'm going to stop there because I'll ramble for days. And I'm like tearing up thinking about my kids. So
Yeah.
there's that.
Yeah. Well, hey, I like that. So it's like having your kids and your dad and family and people that support you there was very meaningful in that moment, even more so than the numbers. I think that's really cool.
Well, my dad, he was my coach my whole life, you know,
Mhm.
and I played competitive baseball and he helped with the football team. He was the defensive coordinator. So, like, I've always just, I don't know, just always been, I can't even come up with words right now, honestly, just thinking about my dad. Um, him and I had a lot of hard times, but also he was always there for me. He's a really good dad. And so to have him come out here, you know, I could have scratched on all my lifts and just to have him there to support me, he still would have been, happy just to be there. So I'm stopping.
That's meaningful.
Yeah.
I appreciate you sharing that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Sorry. We don't get to see each other often, so it sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, your turn, dude.
Okay, my turn. What do
Yeah.
we got?
This is a perfect question for me crying.
Okay.
Oh shoot. How do you regulate your emotions to keep control and what works for you? The
It's
timing.
like,
That wasn't
eh,
planned.
no, that wasn't planned at all. Um, I think also I don't think it's about controlling your emotions, and I think that's the mishap. I think trying to control your emotions just makes the emotions stronger. I think it's about understanding them and I guess the meaning behind the emotions. So, a little history lesson for people out there. So, if you had asked me about emotions 4 years ago, I would have said, "What are you talking about? All I am is happy. Like, like emotions are stupid. Like, it's all about logic." That was my thought process, or at least I thought that was. And then I went through my divorce, which was tough, and I remember going to the therapist for the first time and her saying, "Okay, so what are you feeling right now?" And I couldn't tell her. Like, I was like, I don't know. I can't tell you." And she's like, "Well, what emotions do you know?" And I was like, "Well, happy, mad, sad." And she's like, "Yeah, keep going. That's all I know. Is there any other emotions?" And she's like, "Yes. Here's an emotional wheel with like 32 or whatever, like all these separate emotions." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, snap." So she's like, "Take this home and look over it and figure, think about it." And I was like, "Okay, okay." So I did, and it started, I think, a few things that helped me with that was, yeah, being able to label the emotions, I think was important. And I'm not going to say I'm the best at it, but being able to actually have a label for them was important. And I think I got more in touch with them through meditation and journaling, because journaling helped me kind of put what was out at the time, write it down, and then try to talk to myself as if I was giving advice to my best friend, but it was to me instead. And I think what it did is it helped me figure out what I was going through, have compassion for myself, and be able to kind of understand what was going on. Um, so yeah, so like compassion piece was a lot, but also like, so if I'm sad, I know, okay, well, since I'm sad, let's be sad. That's fine. It's fine to cry. There's nothing wrong with crying. And when you kind of embrace it, I think is how you get through it, because there's nothing wrong with it. Like, there's nothing wrong with anger. Anger is a fine emotion. There's nothing wrong with it. Now, what we do with the anger, that's a different story. But anger in itself is just an emotion, and there's a reason why you're angry, right? Maybe it was an expectation you didn't meet, and that's the root cause of the anger itself. So then it's like, oh, okay, so I'm angry right now. Why am I angry? Oh, well, I had expectations around this going a certain way and it didn't happen. And it's like, okay, well, what was my expectation? Okay. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Okay. And it makes you realize, like, oh, it's because of my expectations I had on some event or someone. And that's what caused the anger itself. So it's like being able to put a label on those things and understand why I think is helpful. So even if I'm um feeling low or depressed or something like that, like sometimes I'll just take a nap and be like, it's okay. Like, this feeling sucks. Like, it doesn't feel good, but it's like, I'm
Yeah.
just going to lay down, just relax for a bit and just, just feel what I need to feel. And it's funny because it can suck. Like, I've had days where I just felt like I was crying all day, or I was sad all day, in a bad headspace all day. But because I didn't try to control it, or didn't try to not be those things, not be sad or whatever, um, yeah, the next day felt good. It's funny. It's like your body just needs to run its course. It knows what's going on for it, and it's like trying to talk to you through language, right? But it's not through thought, like, logic. So it's like you're feeling. It's your body's way of communicating, and you just got to understand what it's trying to tell you. So that would be, I guess, my answer to that question.
Yeah, I feel like I'm the opposite.
Okay.
So I definitely, uh, I feel as I age, I definitely understand a lot of things
Hmm.
better than I have ever, which
Yeah.
is why most of my friends actually, I mean, yeah, almost all of my friends are older than me. Um, and I like that because I can look to them for wisdom on anything because they've already lived it. So
Hmm.
I can I can say confidently that the older I get, the more I look at a situation a lot different than I would even 2 years ago,
Yeah.
you know? But that's like, I don't know, like my grandparents, you know, my grandfather just passed away not long ago, but um, before he had and was living at home, they used to get into it all the time. And he would never say a word back. She would just be barking orders. And instead of, snapping back, he just has lived long enough to say, okay, well, she wants this done. And if I do it, she'll quit yelling at me. So, I mean, it was, you'd have to see them interact with each other to
Hmm.
know what I'm talking about. But, yeah, I stay busy when I feel down.
Hmm.
I've gone days without sleep, just worked, and I know that's like super unhealthy, but um, not recommended for sure. But if I lay down to sleep, I have whatever on my mind. There's no chance that I'm going to sleep well, and I can get a lot done because
Hmm.
if I'm busy, my mind's on this, which happens to be taxidermy.
Hmm.
So I'm glad that you know what works for you.
Hmm.
Um, I think that is a big problem. What you said is, I don't think people are connected to their own emotions, so they don't know how to regulate or handle what emotion they're in.
Yep.
Um, I can tell you that I am a huge teddy bear, but seconds before I lift a heavy weight of any kind, I have this horrible, like, rage of all the bad shit that has happened in my life. I think about the worst possible things. And is that healthy? Probably. I mean, probably not, but it works for me. And I'm not a bad guy, you know?
Hmm.
I'm using things that have happened to me to give myself that extra little bit of adrenaline to push through a lift, you know? Do you ever
Yeah.
have that?
Not often. I'm not it's funny, anger is kind of a weird one for me.
Really?
I don't get angry very often. Um, and when I
Well, you've had
do,
bad things. Everybody's had bad things happen.
yeah, of course, yeah, of course. And usually my anger turns to sadness really fast. Um, is the thing. So it's usually not anger for long. So like I don't channel it when I work out. When I work out, I'm chill as can be. So I'm sure that helps me from like a tension standpoint, but not from a
Yeah.
lifting heavy standpoint. So I'm just like chill as could be lifting and all that stuff. So yeah, I don't get the rage mind. I can't think of anything that makes me that angry. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I've
It's
just always
channeled
been
though. You know what
no,
I
I
mean?
know
Yeah.
exactly. No, and that's a good way to do it. To be able to harness that you know, to utilize it in a healthy way like that. But yeah, like I don't experience that often. Like I said, when I'm angry, usually that anger turns really quick to sadness, and then yeah, usually I'm just sad after that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well, I mean, it sounds like you know how to channel that emotion the best, maybe.
maybe. I know when I'm sad, I like to play. Like I'll play piano. Piano's a fun one I play when I'm feeling sad, and I just get all my feels out on the keys,
Yeah.
and yeah, it feels real good.
Okay. Now I know something else about you. So
Yeah.
if you call me playing the piano, I'll be like, all right, dude, what's up?
That's not always the case.
Okay.
No, but yeah, I enjoy playing piano. It's funny. So lately, this has been kind of interesting. So I had my daughter and her friend over the other day. They live at the apartment complex, and they came in. I was letting them play outside, so I had the doors open, and I was just like, you know what? I feel like practicing piano because I've been kind of into it the last month. And I started playing with the door open, and my neighbors across the way just like stopped in their tracks and were just standing there listening to me.
No way.
And yeah, and it was awesome. And I was
That's
like,
cool.
okay, okay. It was this lady and her, her mom. And yeah, so I was just playing, and then I get out and start, going to take Rachel's friend back to her house, and the old lady's like, "Hey, I'm not a creep or anything. I just want to let you know that I really enjoy your playing." And I was like, "Well, thank you. Appreciate it."
Oh,
So now what
that's
I do
awesome.
is when I decide to play piano, I prop the door open a little bit. What's funny is then I'll hear her door open slightly so she can listen.
There you go.
Yeah. So it's like I'm playing for a little audience.
Heck yeah.
So yeah. So that's it. So that was a good question.
Yeah, it was just fitting at the time for sure.
Yeah. There was some divine intervention there.
Sure.
Okay. So this one is about fatherhood. So what's something your child has taught you that no adult ever could?
Well, there's lots of answers to this because they teach me things all the time. Hunter was just telling me how to catch catfish earlier today. So there's lots of things that they teach me. But I think the main thing is probably forgiveness, I would say, is probably the best answer.
Okay.
Um, so I have four children, and uh, one of them, I get, I don't know how deep you want to go into this, but
Deep
um,
as you want.
all right. One of them I don't get to see very much. One of them I get to see all the time, but she's in Colorado. And so I'm missing her like crazy. I miss them all, of course. And then my older two are in Kansas. So we don't get them all the time either. So um I would say forgiveness only because even though things didn't work out with their moms, they are still they still treat me like their dads, even if their mom has moved on to a new man and they were young and um it didn't work out because of me. And I'm speaking mostly about my older two.
Uh-huh.
So they're old enough now, 16 and 13, to where we can have more heavier, deeper talks. And it's adult things now that bother my 16-year-old daughter. So prepare yourself because let me tell you, those are the worst talks, man. Um, but they've made me grow as a man, you know, as a father for sure. And you know, even though we don't get all every day together as I would like, the time that we do spend together is quality, So the quantity's not there, but the quality is through the roof because everybody's in the moment, and generally when we do get the opportunity to get together, we're making a memory. That's one of my favorite things to do is make memories, you know. Um I did say that I didn't go hunting much in the last 3 years. Well, this last spring, my dad, me, my son, and Avery, my daughter, went turkey hunting. And so she got to experience that and to watch her want to do it again and how much excitement she got from shooting a 20 gauge. And um, those are the things that I miss when I don't have them, is the things that as a man, I feel like you should be teaching your children, you know. I do think it's important that even if you don't hunt, you know how to use a firearm. I'm sorry if, people don't understand that, but
Uh-huh.
um the way things are anymore, it's dangerous. And if they know how to use it, at least they know how to use it safely. And I'm going to stop right there with all that because that's a make it or break it type of argument. So I
Okay.
do believe that, um, you know, we have to continue to learn with them as they grow. They're growing, we're growing at different paces, at different ages, but we should all be able to do it together.
I agree.
That fair?
That's fair. Okay. What's your next question?
All right. How many is this? Is this 3 or 4?
This should be number 3.
Okay. See, that's where I messed up. I didn't bring a pen to mark off which questions I asked you. Okay. What is your greatest obstacle that you've overcome?
Greatest obstacle. I would say this is the answer I always use for that stuff. And I would say my divorce because of what it did for me. Um, because it was unexpected. And, I think things hurt a little worse when it's unexpected. I think if it was mutual and we kind of knew what like it was like, oh, this was going to play out eventually. I think it would have been different. But the fact that it wasn't, I think it took me by surprise. And
Sure.
then and then just feeling like, um, yeah, for the first time feeling like I didn't know myself or didn't know what to do with my life. It was kind of like my identity just shifted in that moment. And trying to figure out one, like what we talked about earlier, how to regulate my emotions and understand that was a big factor. Figuring out like who I want to be as a person now. Um, I mean, you probably know this too, right? After something like that, your self-esteem tanks. So then I was trying to figure out how do I make myself feel better? How do I level myself up? And it just put me in a position where it was like, I got to figure stuff out. So I started doing so much self-reflection during that time and started kind of shifting how I see people and how I see the world and I guess who I want to be. So um, I think it started with first realizing like, okay, I need some type of structure because I know structure can help in chaotic times, right? Because having a sense of control, right, kind of feels better. So when I started working out, and that's when we met. Um, yeah, so started working out a lot. I made it a point. I dedicated it to myself. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do 5 times a week, no matter what. And yeah, in 4 years, I really haven't broken that promise, which is pretty crazy. Um, so workout frequently. Um, what else? Learning. I started learning a ton more than I used to. I used to be more of a passive learner, whereas like as it came, I would learn and take in information. But then I started being really intentional with my learning. Like I started learning about relationships, I started learning about psychology, started learning about neuroscience, like how does the brain work? How do we connect with people? Like how who are we? How do we operate? And that was actually fascinating. So I learned a lot of really interesting stuff there. Um, and then yeah, I got rid of a lot of bad habits. Like I stopped watching a lot of TV. I stopped eating poorly. I started eating really good. It's like it was a total 180. Like I just did a full switch. So it's like when I think
Overall,
about
feel better too, probably.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And it was hard for a long time. And I think emotionally it took me a long time to get over any of that. I'd say it was a good I mean, I'd say it was at least a good 2 years or so, like, to where I actually felt like I was in a decent headspace. The whole first I feel bad, and I'm glad that I had people that really cared, like you and some other friends that I had in that moment. Because 'cause I'd say the first 6 months to a year, I felt like I was pretty much a wreck, like, I felt like I was really quiet and in my shell. I didn't really wanna talk about things, unless people wanted to hear me talk about, how rough things were. you know,
Yeah.
I was trying to get through stuff. But what was really nice is people still hung out with me, and I needed that in that moment. I needed connection, even if I didn't feel like talking. And I feel like everybody that I knew in that area, I feel like did a good job at just being there, listening, and just creating a fun environment to help me get through it too. Because I think connection, is one way we get through a lot of that stuff too. So,
You know what's so funny about you saying that is I remember when things kind of went downhill a little bit because I mean, there
uh-huh.
for a while was like, like most endings in similar situations, it's a roller coaster.
Yep.
So you had high moments, you had low moments, and in your low moments, there was a streak there for a while, I remember. And it's funny that you said that you needed connection because I remember reaching out to you, and shortly thereafter, maybe that week, we went and you were doing a lot of walking at the time. So remember when we walked down, you walked down and I drove because I drive.
Yep.
And
Yep.
and we went and had that coffee that night. And
Hmm.
I just remember like thinking after we had coffee, I was like, man, I should probably do this more because I know he's hurting. And you weren't the type to like reach out and say, hey man, I just need to talk. So
Uh-huh.
and I can totally relate to that.
Uh-huh.
I'm a crazy introvert, extrovert, like a weirdo. Like I'm okay in crowds. I get along with people,
Yep.
and everything. I have good times like we did this weekend. All strangers to me. I'd never met anybody there except for you. And and of course it's a group of people. They were all very nice people. But yeah, they just were like, "Hey, come on in," and it was awesome. But yeah, I noticed in that time that, hey, I should probably do this more because he's not going to reach out to me and tell me he needs help. So I did know that when that was all happening. So
Uh-huh.
um
It,
I'm
yeah,
glad that
Sarah,
you had more people too. That's good.
I did. Yeah, I remember. I would say it's funny. I remember that moment pretty well, actually. I remember going to get coffee and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was just one of those things. Like when it first happened, I remember reaching out to a lot of people because I think I was in shock mostly. Like, dude, you're not going to believe what just happened. But then
Yeah.
after that, when I was going through the midst of like actually trying to process things, um, yeah, it was just interesting. It was hard to reach out to people. So I'm grateful that I had my neighbor. You met him, Luke,
Yeah.
across the way because, dude, I was at his house all the time, and he was big about just like, hey man, what are you doing? And I'm like, nothing. Here, you want to come over? Sure. you know?
Right.
And I just remember going over there and just chatting. And sometimes, yeah, like I said, I was just sitting there. But yeah, like I said, I needed connection, needed presence. But I also knew too that, yeah, I needed to process everything. But yeah,
Mhm.
so thank you for being there in that moment. I appreciate
Hey,
that.
I know you would have done the same, man. That's why we're still friends. I have a ton of acquaintances, but I literally have like five or six people I would die for. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So yeah, you made the list. You're gonna make it, dude. I got your back.
Yeah. All isn't it funny? And all because one day at the gym you decide I was lifting and you decided to say like, hey, you're pretty strong for your weight. Cause I was like 165 back then. It was like when I
Yeah,
first started. Yeah. And then look at that. It triggered a whole relationship.
that was probably me on the other end of what we're talking about. I'm like, hey, I need a friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I was new to the area. I didn't know anybody,
Yeah.
So, the two people that I talked to every day were you and what was his name at the front? Oh my gosh.
Um,
Anyway, those were the only two people I was really interacting with outside of people that I work for, you know.
yeah.
So yeah, it was awesome. I needed that just as much as you in that time frame.
Yeah. Dude, it's funny. I met some of my best people through moments like that. Like I met you, I met my other buddy Austin just randomly at a park where our daughters were playing together.
I met him too.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah,
the
at the
MMA
fights.
guy?
At the
Yeah,
fights. Yeah, the jiu-jitsu
yeah,
guy. Yeah. Yeah,
yep.
same thing. We just happened to be at the park at the same time, just randomly, and he looked like he was not feeling so hot either. And then we ended up Like I remember his I think it was his friend's wife that they were kind of all together with the kids getting the kids together, and she was the talkative one between us, and like like hey, it looks like our kids are getting together. You want to go? We're gonna go to this park. You want to follow us? Like sure, let's do it. And I started chatting with him, and then realized like he was going through something similar that I was going through. So that's why. And then we realized we connected on a bunch of levels, and I'm like, dude. His words were like, "Did we just become best friends?" And I was like, "I don't know. Maybe we did."
Yeah.
you know.
Right.
So there was that. My neighbor Luke was just kind of a random thing too, and yeah, it's just funny. Even the some of the people at the Highland Games, it's just like random happenstance, and then
Yeah.
now we hang out and chat all the time. So um, yeah, it's crazy how life works.
Craig.
That's right. I knew it started with a C. I just could not think of it.
I know. I kept thinking Chris.
I was like Chad, Charlie. I was like, no, none of those are right.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, sweet. These are our final questions. Are you ready?
All right.
Hey, this one is around dating. Um, so how do you stay open and vulnerable in dating without losing your sense of self?
I won't. I refuse to. So, um, I just am me.
Okay.
And I, if I was to ever have a dating profile, which I would never do, by the way, um, I would literally write, you get what you see,
Mm-hmm.
because that is how I would, that's how I am. You know what I mean? Not everybody likes me, but not very many people don't like me. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that I'm a bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, yeah, I mean, that's how I would address that. I refuse to change for anybody. I'm already like you, I'm happy with my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't change that for anybody. And I have a great woman, you know, and uh, I don't really want to talk about it, but,
Mm-hmm.
um, like we were talking earlier about being on my journey or your journey,
Mm-hmm.
this person is the only person that has ever just let me be who I am and let me live my life. And, she does her own thing. I do my own thing. And in the mornings and evenings, like that's our time. So it's really, it sounds so simple, but it's so difficult to find. I'm a busy dude and I have a lot going on and I'm not available a lot. So to find that is really difficult. And I know you have a lot going on too. That's
Mm-hmm.
why I think it's really important that your person needs to be somebody that's okay with all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
because that stuff is what makes you you. I'm not going to take away things. And don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not saying that I'm going to miss um, her mom's surprise birthday party, to go to the gym. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
saying like I understand that that is part of being in a relationship and being committed and being there for her and her family and so on. But when it comes to everyday life, like this is what I'm doing and this is what needs to be done so that I can go to bed and say that I did everything that I needed to do, provide for me and my family, children. And so, yeah, I don't have a whole lot of extra time for nonsense. So when you find somebody that, you know, wants to be a part of your life and you find somebody that loves you for you and you find somebody that will come home to you and go to bed knowing that you're going to be working until 2 in the morning to make sure that the bills are paid and that you have money for this and that and whatever, then, you know, that's where I found my happiness, man, is finding somebody that fits into what I already have that makes me who I am. So now I do think that you have to be able to um, have those hard talks and generally pretty quick. I
Mm-hmm.
don't like to beat around the bush because I don't like wasting my time or theirs.
Yep.
So I'm pretty straightforward, especially on the first couple dates. I would be 100% upfront. Like, this is who I am. Let's have a good time, make a good memory with that person, whether I ever, whether you were going to see them again or not.
Mm-hmm.
You can still go out and have a wonderful time with a stranger. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep.
You might block their phone number after the date. I'm here for me and her. So I'm still going to have fun because,
Mm-hmm.
whatever the date is, I picked it generally. And so I picked something that's going to be fun. I don't like the whole dinner and a movie. I think that's lame, really. Um, Personal experiences. I've had a lot better interactions with women, taking them on a walk and finding a rock that looks like a heart and giving it to them. I mean, shit
Mm-hmm.
like that, they're going to remember that forever, and so I would rather do something like that. I'm not saying do that on the first date though. But you know what I'm saying,
Yeah, yeah.
I just, I don't know, man. You got to find somebody that likes you for you. And that's really not as easy as it sounds.
Nope.
Taking two totally different lives and trying to build one, it's not everybody, you know.
True. Well,
And if it was, everybody would have a partner, and, no one has partners anymore. So, what's that tell you?
yeah. The thing is, too, is think about it. If you're a rare man, then you're looking for a rare woman,
True. Yeah,
you know? So,
100%.
yeah. So I'm on board with you on that though, as far as dates, man. Like you gotta have fun. Why not
Yeah.
go rock climbing or axe throwing or on hikes? Like that's the
hmm
best. Like I don't think I've ever taken a lady to a movie because it's like, what's the point of a movie? You're just sitting there.
If that is your first date, that is the worst way
That's
to
lame.
like understand who this person is.
Yeah.
Sitting next to them does not even count as getting to know them,
No.
I don't know. And I don't know, man. I don't know about you, but I generally don't go like crazy for a while, I mean, because when you're going to date somebody new, it's going to be a financial investment for you, period. The end. If you're a real man, you're paying for everything.
Yep.
And if you ever, um, you know, have to, you know, I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, I pay for everything. So, they want you to plan it.
hmm
Uh, they don't want to just do what every other dude does. So I think that your dates need to be more unique than what every other dude does.
Yep.
Um, I don't know. I think dating and being in a relationship are two different skills. Do you agree?
Yeah, because one's more relationship is, I mean, the dating's the first half of it, right? It's more of like the attraction piece, like, hey, let me show you about me, let's have some fun experience. It's like the relationship part is like, how do we interact together, how do we communicate together, how do we cope with the things that I don't like or the things that you don't like how do we maneuver that? So it's a bigger investment in the relationship side, but dating is, yeah, I mean, it's a necessary part. That's the whole get to know you thing. And yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever done the apps or no?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Okay.
I
And
have.
did you have a decent experience or not?
Um, it's been okay. The thing is I wasn't meeting people in person, so that's kind of where it went.
Yeah.
So, but it wasn't bad because if I think about it, like I'm really picky. Like I'm not a person that swipes on everybody. I'm really particular. So I swipe on a few people here and there, and I'm not even on it like rarely ever, but when I feel like it, I do. Um, and yeah, I've met some good people on there, whether it lasted or not. I met some good people and filtered through a lot of people. But I wouldn't say, I don't know. Like I've always said this, like it casts a wider net, which is fine because you meet people that you normally wouldn't meet. But
Yeah.
it's like anything else. I think viewing it as a dating app thinks is the wrong term. And I heard someone say, think of it as an introduction app. And I think that makes a lot more sense
Okay.
because it's about like, hey, like I'm just connecting with you. Let's go, if you want to hang out, let's go hang out and let's meet. And I think lowering that expectation is good. But yeah, I honestly haven't really been thinking about it too much. Like the last few months, it's been just kind of me doing my thing, and I, I hopped on like once, and so it's just trying to do me now. So I wouldn't say it has a good track record, especially for
Yeah,
most people.
sure.
But yeah, I
I
don't
mean,
know.
I've heard stories of it working.
Yeah,
Um, I've just heard a lot of horror stories, you know,
I'm sure there are.
mostly from women though. I mean, um, I've heard it from men too though. I mean, I've heard it
Hmm.
both ways. So
Oh yeah.
I, I've never gotten involved in any of that. Like, just never had or wanted to, I guess.
No,
Um,
you're not
I
missing out. And if you can
so
talk to people, you're fine. That's way better.
and well, I'm probably too much of a loudmouth sometimes, but uh, one thing that I've noticed in my life, as far as like, I know Instagram isn't a dating app, but
Hmm.
when someone is to connect with you on there and you go meet them, whatever, I've just seen that it wasn't, it was all just a physical attraction, is all it was,
Hmm.
and you can feel that in a real conversation with someone having a coffee. You can feel whether they're genuine or what their intentions are 90% of the time. So I never had anything that ever came of anything that wasn't just out and about, or
Hmm.
met through a friend at a barbecue or something that we started our relationship talking over a drink, having a good time, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying having a drink at the bar because, as you know, I don't drink, but we're at a barbecue with a bunch of friends and we hit it off. Those are the types of relationships I feel like go forever. The
Hmm.
ones that aren't supposed to happen, but they just happen. Um, I think that is the way I would like, that's the way I feel like it works out best. I don't see, or I haven't seen how like the internet has helped with dating in many people's lives, and I know it has in some, but it's people need to get out and start meeting people. I think a lot more people would end up in committed, successful relationships instead of typing or whatever. I don't even know how it works, swiping.
Oh yeah. No, I agree. There's still the grass is greener mentality when it comes to dating apps because there's so many options. And it's heavily skewed a lot of dating apps towards women. So women have a lot of options, men not so much. But if select few men do, and then that kind of hinders a lot of, let's just say it causes problems because those guys aren't committed, right?
Yeah,
And then that's the perception. Yeah, there's just a whole lot that isn't good about it. Just like social and just anything like that. It's all artificial connection, and it causes issues, and then it like creates a sense of reality that's not actually real. And yeah, but if you look at the statistics, like used to, yeah, you'd meet the biggest way of meeting someone with a relationship was like through family. And then now it's like exponentially, it's just dating apps now. So a lot of people think it's weird if you talk to them at the gym, like just a, cold approach or whatever. It's
I
like,
absolutely would never ever in my life approach a woman at the gym, and there's not. I mean, I just wouldn't do it uh, because I don't want to end up on a Joey Swole video. Telling
yeah,
me to do better about interrupting a woman while
yeah.
she's not lifting and she's on her phone. I don't know,
Yeah,
but
it is what it
yeah,
is.
I
So
wouldn't.
it,
I wouldn't. When I go to the gym, I don't want to be bothered. So I get it. I just wouldn't. If they were to approach me, of course I'd be kind, but There's no way I would ever approach a female at the gym. It's just not the place for it, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know. I think we'll figure something out, but in the meantime, it is a little odd. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
All right.
Your
Is it
last
my
question.
turn?
Yep. Last one. The
All
finale.
right. Wayne. All right. What would you say your father is most proud of you for?
I don't know. I don't know if it would be a specific thing. Um, that would be
I
an
mean, I'm
int- that
sure that
yeah.
there's many things, of course, but
Yeah, yeah, but see, that's a question I actually like to ask him sometime. I'm actually really curious about that. But
yeah.
I would say he's probably proud of just I think just holistically speaking, I'd say he's just proud of probably who I became or who I am. I know he's always talked about he always mentions that I'm really good at talking with people and stuff like that. And so I think he's, likes that I do the podcast and music and um yeah, I don't know. That's a really good question. I'd say I know he's proud of me, but of what aspect is most important? I don't know. I'd be curious about that. That's a good question.
Thanks.
So,
Yeah, I just have I've seen you and your dad interact,
mhm,
and I'm just you guys are pretty tight from what I know,
mhm,
and that's how me and my dad are. And so I just wanted to have a question there about him because my dad is for sure my biggest influence in life, and I'm pretty sure you're probably the same way. And yeah, I just you know always trying to not only make myself proud, but want him to be proud. And I know that you're similar in that aspect of things, or I would guess that you are, I suppose.
yeah. I don't know. That's an interesting question now that you pose that, because I'm trying to think, because I don't know if I did subconsciously, maybe. I think when I was a kid, I did a lot of things to make my dad proud. But as I've grown up, I've really just tried to do what I want to do, and I didn't really think too much about it. But I know he's proud of the things I've done. But I've also I mean, I work out, so that's part of the family thing. But I strayed away a lot from, I think, what my family did. I mean, they did construction business, they did all this stuff, and I kind of moved out into the city and did a lot of different type of work. But
Well, I mean, as you grow up, of course,
yeah,
like when we're
yeah,
younger, we're trying to impress dad, like
yeah, yeah,
playing
of
sport or
course.
whatever. But now things have changed to like, hey, dad, how do you think of, what do you think about my business?
Hmm.
Or hey, dad, not that I would ask him this, but, he's seen me parent and I parent completely opposite of what he did,
Hmm.
which was a thunderstorm, right?
Yeah.
And so I have not had to do that. Now, we all get frustrated with our children. No one that has a baby up to a 16-year-old is as far as I know so far. But from those ages, there's not a single time where it's easy. Things just change, right? Just like
Hmm.
we have to adapt and change. And so I think, yeah, you're still maybe trying to um, make him proud, just in different ways.
Yeah. I'll have to ponder that. I'm gonna keep that in front of mind now.
Yeah, you're gonna have to ask him and let me know because now I'm curious.
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh man.
Sweet. Yeah, that was a good one. That was a good ending question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The unanswered question.
Yeah. Well, I answered it the best I could.
Yeah. Well, and that is, that's fair.
Yeah.
It is hard. I could probably come up with better answers to your questions now that I've had an hour to think on the first question, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's hard in this spot when you're given zero time to answer something that you want to be, um, you know, honest and deep about, right?
Yep.
Uh, but I think, for the most part, I did, guess pretty well about what you were going to say with these, which
Hmm.
makes me feel pretty good because, makes me feel like I do know you pretty well. Uh, and I really liked your answer to emotions. And I can't exactly remember what we were talking about, but remember the other day when we were on the phone, I was like, oh my gosh, dude. Like you just made me flip my brain. You made
Yeah.
me think a different way. You had me doing that a couple times today too. So I
Oh,
always like
nice.
that in our conversations where, I think this is how it should be, but then, you know, I don't exclude what anybody else says because, well, maybe I can make my way better or vice
Mhm.
versa.
Yeah, being open
Yeah,
to new information. Yeah.
I'm extremely open. I have gotten everywhere in my life being open minded.
Hmm.
I have taken 10 world champions and taken their methods on how to do taxidermy and took all 10 ways and made Tim Cooley's way. You know,
Yep.
what works for me, using all of their methods to make my way. And I think if you're open minded, you become a better, well rounded human. Um, I don't think that there is a way to, I don't think that there is a way. I don't know. I don't know how I was going to answer that, to be real. I
Yeah.
just completely lost my train of thought, but I started
Well,
reading again and then it drew a blank. But
yeah, I mean, to that point, I mean, that's part of the growth mindset. I think you have to be open in order to grow yourself as an individual. Because if you're stuck, I don't like if you're fixed, which I know people that are really fixed in one way of thinking. Like, I just don't know how I don't know how you grow from that place.
well, and it seems very stagnant. I don't feel like you
Mhm.
can ever grow in any aspect if you're so closed minded. And don't get me wrong, I have ADHD real bad. But when I get to working on something that needs to be done or something that I care about or a workout or my kid, whatever it is, I get super hyper focused on what I'm doing. You know
Mhm.
what I mean?
Yep.
But that doesn't mean that I'm not open minded to doing whatever I'm hyper focused on a different way. Does
Yep.
that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
So
Of course.
if I'm doing this and you say, well, hey, I think this is a good idea, I will absolutely listen to you. Whether I do that or not that'll depend on what you say, I guess. But,
Yep.
I mean, we may be able to come up with a plan together that,
Yeah.
is half your way, half my way, and it's the best way.
There
So,
we go.
but a lot of people don't think like that, their way or no way. And those people are going to be single and sad. So,
Yeah. Sweet. Well, hey, I'm glad I got you on the hot seat. It was
yeah,
fun
man.
having you back on, and I think it's funny. This is a relatively new platform, but I like it for the fact that, to your point earlier, I think it gives us authentic answers. And when I mean authentic, I don't necessarily mean true. You know what I mean? Like, if we have time to think about it, maybe we come up with traps. But I think putting each other on the spot, I think, gives us like kind of what we're feeling in the moment or what our thoughts are. And yeah, we can go home and sleep on and be like, man, I wish I would have said that or said this or said that. But you didn't. And I think it kind of speaks to the authenticity of being put on the spot and trying to answer something.
Yeah. Yeah. It was much more difficult, honestly, than I thought it was going to be.
Oh, yeah?
Only because of the time frame. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
if I get a minute to really think of how to answer the question that's being asked, I can
Hmm.
generally come up with something that is not only genuine and honest, but um, like deep. And I feel like when you're deep with people and they can tell you're telling the truth,
Hmm.
that is when people will listen regardless of the subject. I've
Hmm.
listened to Andrew Huberman on so many podcasts where I can't even stand what they're talking about. But
Yeah.
because of how he's giving me the information, I listen to the whole thing and learn a
Hmm.
lot generally.
Yeah.
So I do think that, if you come to people with the right attitude and the right mindset and deliver it the right way, they will listen regardless of the subject.
I agree with
So,
that.
yeah,
Cool.
that's how I'm ending it.
Okay. Mic
Your
drop.
show, I have to end it though because I said something cool.
Fair. Okay. Well,
Hey,
thanks again for
man.
being on the hot seat, Tim. And yeah, I'm sure we'll speak again on here
Well,
sometime.
I appreciate you, man. I appreciate your friendship, and thanks again for having me.
Okay. Same. And I'll talk to you
All right.
later. Okay.